June 2024, in Reddick, Florida, a 91-year-old woman called police and claimed she had been sexually assaulted. Deputies from the Marion County Sheriff's Office were dispatched to her home after she reported that someone had entered her bedroom during the night.
Okay, I'm up here in Reddick. I'm at a house. A 91-year-old lady calls in saying she was just raped. We get on scene. She's beat up really bad.
According to investigators, the intruder forcefully entered the residence. The woman told authorities she had been struck multiple times in the head from behind before being sexually assaulted. Law enforcement later stated the person remained inside the home for approximately 15 minutes before leaving.
We'll just get some tape. We'll lock down the house. Once she gets out, we'll wrap it up. It's our crime scene. I got evidence coming, major crimes coming.
Who do you want to go with her to the hospital?
I don't care, as long as someone goes. I mean, if you talk to her, that's fine. Being that it's a female, maybe Alyssa can go a little bit more comfortable.
Deputies arrived and secured the scene. The woman was transported for medical evaluation. Crime scene technicians began processing the home. They collected physical evidence and gathered biological samples that investigators believed could help identify a suspect.
That lady's moved out of the way, right?
The one that was with the phone?
Yeah.
Hey, have the neighbor with the phone step out of our way.
Because of the seriousness of the crime and the fact that it occurred during the late night hours, investigators believed there was a possibility the suspect had not traveled far from the scene. In nighttime incidents, suspects may attempt to hide in nearby wooded areas, yards, or structures where visibility is limited. K9 units were deployed to assist in the search. Police dogs are specially trained to track human scent over varying terrain and in low-light conditions. They can follow scent trails from a crime scene, locate individuals who are hiding, and cover large areas more efficiently than officers on foot. In late-night investigations, when visibility is reduced and time is critical, K9 units provide an effective tool for locating suspects quickly and safely.
So she saw a shadow approaching her, and all of a sudden he just started like wailing on her. She's significantly injured in her face and got a big gash on her arm. She's 91 years old. So she says that the guy sounded Hispanic and he was telling her to be still and penetrated her with his fingers. And she said that he felt like he was not erect, but maybe trying to be. She said it lasted about 15,
Investigators expanded their inquiry. They canvassed the surrounding area, spoke with neighbors, and continued gathering information. Meanwhile, evidence collected from the home was submitted for forensic testing.
Hey, did you see anybody run through here or anything?
That's my yard, but then again, I went in the house at 9:30 to eat dinner.
Okay.
And came back out with my son and said he saw all the cars come in here.
Okay.
And I was sitting there for a minute.
Your son live here too?
Huh?
Your son live here too?
Yeah, my son lives here. My daughter and son-in-law are down here from West Virginia on vacation.
Okay.
The neighbor told investigators that he observed a familiar vehicle driving past the home around the time of the incident. He stated that it appeared to be the same car he had seen in the area days earlier. According to the neighbor, the vehicle had its lights fully illuminated and remained in the vicinity briefly before driving away.
There was a car earlier that came up there, like when it's still daylight out there, but I think that was one of her friends.
Okay. I think
it looked familiar, like I've seen the car before.
Okay.
But nobody's been in my yard because I got dogs out and stuff.
Right. Okay.
Feel okay?
I hope.
I mean, I've known this lady since I was 10 years old.
Okay. I mean, it appears somebody was over there messing with the house.
According to law enforcement, significant amounts of biological evidence were left at the scene. Investigators stated that multiple DNA samples were collected and submitted for forensic analysis.
No, anywhere, like when you walk around the house, no evidence of like her falling or anything. So everything she's saying is adding up. Everything is on her bed. Blood everywhere on her bed.
The neighbor said that only Hispanics that she knows is right across this road right here on this side. So,
that lady's daughters wanted her to move so many times out of here too. She kept saying no.
All right.
When investigators were unable to immediately determine the suspect's whereabouts, they relied on the forensic evidence collected at the scene. the biological samples were submitted for DNA analysis. Once the results were completed and returned, law enforcement stated that the DNA was linked to 14-year-old Jessie Stone.
Exclusive new audio of a conversation between a teen who deputies say raped a 91-year-old woman at her home and his grandmother.
The deputies say this video here shows Jessie Stone running away minutes after that 91-year-old woman was raped. Deputies say this is 14-year-old Jessie Stone, on the run just before midnight in Reddick.
With enough forensic evidence linking Jessie to the scene, investigators went ahead to arrest him and brought him in for interrogation.
Man, you doing all right? You need anything? All right, Jessie, I'm Ryan, and we're gonna come in here and talk to you just a little bit, okay? We're waiting for your mom to get over here, just so we can all be here and talk and figure out what's going on, all right? You sure you don't want water or anything? Okay, if you need something, just get the door, we'll knock, all right?
Usually in cases involving minors, law enforcement and courts follow specific legal safeguards. Juvenile suspects are entitled to protections during questioning, including recorded interviews and access to legal counsel. A juvenile's identity is typically protected during criminal investigations. However, when a minor is formally charged as an adult, court records and booking information may become public under state law. In this case, Stone's identity was released after prosecutors elected to file charges in adult court, a decision permitted in certain serious felony cases under Florida law.
You sure you don't want water or anything? Okay, if you need something, just get the door, we'll knock, all right?
Stone was escorted into an interrogation room for questioning in the presence of his grandmother because he is a minor.
Jessie, I'm going to ask you some questions. It might seem a little bit weird, but this is just to help me understand and to make sure that I'm on the same page as you. So, do you understand the difference between a truth and a lie?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me what the truth means to you.
The truth is what actually happened.
Okay. And what's a lie mean?
Something that's made up or not true.
Okay.
Officers ask a minor whether they understand the difference between the truth and a lie to determine whether the juvenile is capable of giving a knowing and voluntary statement. Courts require that confessions be made voluntarily and with an understanding of the consequences. With minors, judges examine whether the child had sufficient maturity and comprehension to waive their rights. Establishing that the minor understands truth versus falsehood helps demonstrate competency and supports the admissibility of the statement in court. A consideration that was especially important during the interview of Jessie Stone.
Do you remember that night? So when I showed you that video of you walking, so that would have been late Saturday night.
Yes.
Do you remember everything that you did that night?
Yeah, I couldn't go to sleep, so I got up and I headed down the road to watch the cars that are coming from the concert. I've watched them, the cars looking for modified vehicles for a while, and then I went walking across the street for, I'm guessing, an hour before I came to my house.
At that point in the interrogation, Stone was not informed of all the evidence investigators had gathered, including video footage documenting his movements. During questioning, he provided an account of his activities. As detectives continued to press him on inconsistencies, he acknowledged that he had been at the woman's house the evening before the crime was committed.
Where was she at?
On the front porch, sitting in her rocking chair in front of the door.
Okay, gotcha. So what was the last time, like, before then, when you had seen her, or I guess talked with her, like, kind of like you did that day?
The last time I'd seen her before that was probably about, I want to say, a week and a half before. She was driving down the road from like church or something.
Oh, okay.
And she just stopped and said hi real quick.
Stone was described by some in the area as a well-behaved teenager. He had previously mowed the victim's lawn and was familiar with her home from a young age.
And correct me if I got this wrong, that you, when you were younger, you used to go over and talk with her quite a bit.
Yeah, I'd go over, talk, help her.
So she's never asked for your help to do those types of like household chores, so like laundry or whatever. Okay.
No, I've helped with the laundry machine, but not to do laundry.
Not like you've never done her laundry for her, or bed sheets or anything like that.
No.
You've never like taken a nap or slept in any of her bedrooms or anything like that.
No.
Okay.
Although Stone appeared cooperative during portions of the interview, investigators continued working to reconcile his statements with the evidence they had collected. As questioning progressed and inconsistencies were addressed, he denied involvement in the crime.
I'm just going to be honest with you because, I feel like you've been mostly honest with me, okay? Is there any reason at all that your DNA would be on her clothes?
Yeah, we when I said goodbye to her, we hugged, like a slight hug.
Okay.
During the interrogation, detectives proceeded to ask Stone why his DNA had been found on the victim's pants. This method is commonly referred to as evidence confrontation. Investigators present forensic findings directly to a suspect in order to test their explanation and observe their reaction.
Your DNA was on her underwear.
What?
And so I want you to really use this time here to be honest with me about what happened that night, because I think that we know what happened, and I think that your mom knows what happened, because she also wrote down a list of times that you went in and out of the house that night, to include the time that the call came in.
As the questioning tightened, Stone continued relying on his verbal responses. However, the direction of the interrogation left little room for alternative explanations. Despite remaining adamant, the sustained focus of the detectives and the narrowing line of questioning made it clear that the interrogation had reached a decisive point.
It's impossible for my DNA to be on her underwear.
That's what we like to think too, brother, but that stuff doesn't lie, that stuff doesn't get made up.
Stone denied to the bone that he ever molested the 91-year-old lady, even when the female detective laid photos of the crime scene before him.
And there's people out there sometimes that make mistakes.
I'm going to come over here, and I want to make sure.
That doesn't make you a bad person for making a mistake.
Oh my God. Holy cow. I want to know why this happened.
Upon being confronted with the evidence, Stone responded similarly to his prior statements when questioned about CCTV footage. He initially denied involvement. Following further questioning, he admitted to being in the area and stated that he had gone for a run.
Randy, look at me for a second. You did this exact same thing when I asked you about you walking down the road or jogging down the road at 11 o'clock. And you did the whole, I don't remember, and I was like, and you finally admitted to it. And I think this is the exact same thing. I know what happened. And it's only going to help you for you to be honest with me about what happened. Because like I said, we know what happened because we have your DNA at the crime scene.
Although Stone's demeanor fluctuated during the interview, he repeatedly stated that he had not approached the victim's residence.
Elderly woman's underwear. What are you thinking, man? We're putting everything out here and you're kind of just looking at all this, man. I know it might be a shock, but what are you thinking?
I'm overly confused.
What are you confused about?
I wasn't even near her house. I was across the street.
A whole hour. You were gone.
Yeah. I said I was gone for about an hour.
Despite being presented with evidence, Stone continued to deny involvement. During the interrogation, he did not express remorse and maintained his position.
She deserves the truth to be told, and you know it. Personally, I can't believe that this is a horrible thing with you, John. That's a horrible thing.
I don't even have the ability to do that.
Well, it's hard for me to believe, too. It's really hard for me to believe, too, that you would do a thing like this.
I didn't.
But how many times have you been caught in lies?
I know.
And this is the whole reason why you're on restriction. It's because you're not telling the truth about things. If this woman deserves to have the truth, she deserves it, and you know that.
What?
Adolescence is marked by ongoing development of the brain regions responsible for impulse control, judgment, and long-term consequence evaluation. Psychological research shows that teenagers may exhibit optimism bias and overconfidence, sometimes relying on persuasion or denial when confronted with authority. While each case is unique, these developmental factors can influence how a juvenile responds under pressure. In Stone's case, his continued reliance on verbal denials during questioning occurred against that broader backdrop of adolescent cognitive development.
Don't say why's, Reddy John, because why doesn't exist here.
I wasn't at her house.
Reddy John, it's across the street. Look at her. Look at her. Look at her face. That's me.
I don't even think like that.
I've never seen you hurt anybody, but
I don't want to hurt
what the hell are you doing outside at that time of night? It doesn't make any sense. Do you understand?
Even though images of the 91-year-old victim were not released publicly, Stone's grandmother urged him to be truthful during the interrogation. Court records state that the victim was physically assaulted and left severely injured.
Reddy John, it doesn't make any sense. There's a million different things you can do. Being outside where you don't belong, and you know you don't belong out there.
I'm sorry, but I'm an outdoorsy person.
You're not an outdoorsy person. You're a sit in front of the TV kind of guy.
I don't have TV. I'm outside.
Well, I don't know. I hope and pray you did not do this to this woman. I hope and pray.
Despite his grandmother's efforts to encourage him to be truthful, Jesse remained resolute and unequivocal. He denied any involvement in the crime.
I hope and pray you did not do this. Because this is horrific. This is a human being. And she deserves justice. She does. If this would have happened to your sister, what would you do?
Murder whoever did.
If you know anything about this, Randy John, for her at least, if you care about her, tell the truth. Tell the truth.
You know,
Following her attempts to encourage Stone to be truthful, his grandmother deferred to the detectives. During the course of the interview, Jesse later admitted to the offense and detailed his actions on the night of the incident. However, the recording of the interview cannot be released publicly under Florida law.
Honestly, Randy John, I feel like you probably wish that this had never happened. Like, I honestly still believe that you never really intended to hurt.
In an effort to obtain a more detailed statement, the male detective continued the interview with Jesse. During this portion of the interrogation, the discussion addressed his exposure to and use of pornographic material, as reflected in court records.
How old were you when you started watching the porn videos?
my friend showed them to me when I was 10.
10? So you've been watching them since you were 10?
Off and on, yeah.
Okay. How often do you think you were watching them before you got put on restriction?
Once or twice a week.
Okay. And what kind of stuff were you watching? Looking at pictures? Were you watching videos?
A mix of both.
A mix of both? Okay. And what site did you normally use? And that's all it's called? You just put that into Google?
Yeah, that was the website my friend showed me.
Okay.
With all the evidence collected and reviewed, prosecutors moved forward with formal charges. Despite being 14 years old at the time of the offense, Jesse was charged as an adult under Florida law. The case was transferred to adult court, where he faced felony charges consistent with the severity of the allegations. Jesse Stone was sentenced to 25 years in state prison, followed by 30 years of sex offender probation upon release. He is also required to register as a sex offender. Because he was under 18 at the time of the offense, correctional authorities must determine whether he will initially serve time in a juvenile facility before transfer within the adult correctional system. If you enjoy our crime stories and in-depth investigations, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video with others who love true crime.